Hello guys, a very good morning to all of you. Welcome to 21st Century IAS Academy online Indian economy classes. So I guess we are in the chapter of taxation and fiscal system. So where we have completed the most of the things. I think we are in the GST part. So without wasting the time, let us continue from the last class. So I guess yesterday we have already successfully completed the major parts of GST. So in the today's class, let us concentrate on some miscellaneous aspects of GST, which may not be asked in the examination, but they're very much important to be understood as far as the mains examination is concerned. ఎందుకంటే ఆల్రెడీ జిఎస్టీ రోల్ అవుట్ అయ్యి 2017 రోల్ అవుట్ అయింది. ఆల్మోస్ట్ వీఆర్ ఇన్ 2020 నౌ. సో ఐ థింక్ ఇట్స్ బిన్ ఆల్రెడీ 3 years. So kabatti we cannot expect the questions on the initial aspects of GST, but anything which is in terms of current affairs in nature, the questions may be asked. So kabatti మనం ఆల్రెడీ ఈ విషయాలన్నీ కూడా చూసేసాం, బేసిక్స్ ఆఫ్ జిఎస్టీ అండ్ all these things. I think yesterday we have seen this impact of GST also. So we are at this, I think, what is meant by input tax credit. Input tax credit, as a matter, we have already understood this whole part. Endukante you see, for example, let's say this is one output, okay. This it's been written on the screen. This is output. So this A, B, C, these three are actually the materials, the raw materials which are used to bring this output, okay. So these three are the raw materials, and A is one raw material, B is one raw material, and C is one raw material. So by combining all these three raw materials, we got this output. And if you see on the raw material A, okay, we have already tax paid on this raw material A, that is 100 rupees, and then tax paid on raw material B, that is 120 rupees here, okay, this part. And third one is tax paid on the purchase of raw material C, that is 80 rupees. అంటే total to be tax to be paid by manufacturer ఎంత పే చేస్తాడు, ఆల్రెడీ ఈ ట్యాక్స్లు తీసేసి. అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ద టోటల్ అవుట్పుట్ ఈజ్ 450, రైట్. ద టోటల్ అవుట్పుట్ ఈజ్ 450. సో ఫర్ దిస్ 450 rupees, this is the tax on the total output. But already the manufacturer has paid for the raw materials. How much? 100, 220, 300 already he paid. So 450 minus 300, so how much he has to pay? Total 150. So this 300 rupees, that is tax for A and tax for B and tax for C, this is called as input tax credit. Ante enti, for the inputs called A, B, C, already the tax has been paid. So this tax will be credited when the manufacturer is paying the final tax. సో ఆ పేరులోనే ఉంది చూడండి, ఇన్పుట్ మీద పే చేసినటువంటి ట్యాక్స్ దట్ విల్ బి క్రెడిటెడ్ టు యువర్ ఫైనల్ ట్యాక్స్ ఆన్ అవుట్పుట్. అంటే వాట్ ఎవర్ ద ట్యాక్స్ దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ పెయిడ్ ఆన్ ద ఇన్పుట్స్, that will be deducted from the final tax on your output. Are you understanding the point? So that is called input tax credit. అయితే ఇది ఎప్పుడు చూపిస్తారు? when you show the receipts and invoice. So if you don't show the receipts, then the manufacturer has to pay 450 rupees as tax. If you show the receipts here, then that input tax that will be credited to your account. Then that input tax will be credited to your account. Your account in the sense while you are paying the taxes, that is your GST account anamata. So ante whatever the taxes that you already paid on inputs, if you show the receipts, this taxation amount will be deducted from the tax on your output. So that is how you will be rescued. So this is how you can fade off this cascading effect. So then you can solve the problem of the cascading effect. Are you understanding? So in that particular context, what we have to understand is input tax credit means this is nothing but reducing the taxes paid on inputs from the taxes that are to be paid on the output. When any supply of goods or services supplied to a taxable person, GST is charged, known as the input tax credit. Are you understanding the point? So that's why this GST, it will increase the receipt culture. ఎందుకంటే చూడండి, ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు మ్యానిపులేట్ ద రిసీట్స్ ఆల్సో, మీరు ఎక్కడ మ్యానిపులేట్ చేయాలి? ద ట్యాక్స్ పెయిడ్ ఆన్ ఏ అంటే ఫస్ట్ రా మెటీరియల్ దగ్గర యూ హ్యావ్ టు మ్యానిపులేట్ ద రిసీట్. సెకండ్ ట్యాక్స్ పేర్, సెకండ్ రా మెటీరియల్ దగ్గర యూ హ్యావ్ టు మ్యానిపులేట్ ద రిసీట్స్. థర్డ్ రా మెటీరియల్ దగ్గర కూడా యూ హ్యావ్ టు మ్యానిపులేట్ ద రిసీట్స్, విచ్ ఈస్ నాట్ పాసిబుల్. సో దానివల్ల ఏమవుతుంది, చచ్చినట్టు ఇప్పుడు మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరర్ ఈ హ్యాస్ టు బ్రింగ్ ఆల్ దీస్ 3 receipts టు డిడక్ట్ దీస్ 300 rupees ఫ్రమ్ ద ఫైనల్ టాక్సేషన్. అదర్వైజ్ he will be liable to pay 450 rupees as tax. అంటే ఏంటి, whatever the tax that you already paid on the inputs, if you show the receipts, that tax will be credited to your final tax on the output. So from the final tax, this initial tax will be deducted. That's why it is called as input tax credit, which you have to understand. That's why it is also viable to be a dealer who has purchased good to resale. So whenever a good is being resold also, this person has to show the receipts, otherwise he is supposed to pay the tax. So kabatti chachinattu receipt తీసుకుంటారు. So that is about your input tax credit. Hope you understood this. Second one is, if we for example roll out this particular GST, what kind of impact that it will show on the Indian economy. So this is another important point which we have to understand. So in this particular case, if you see, first of all, it improve the export competitiveness. How? Because the moment you roll out GST, because it will clear the cascading effects on the goods and services when comes to the taxes, the prices of the goods will actually reduce. Once the prices of the goods is reducing, when you export them also, even in the international market, the prices of these goods will reduce. So once the prices of these goods reduce, then more and more people in the international market will show their interest to buy these goods because their prices have been reduced. Are you understanding the point? So because of that, the total number of the goods that Indian merchants selling in the international market will increase. దానివల్ల మీ ఎక్స్పోర్ట్స్ పెరుగుతాయి, ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ కాంపిటేటివ్నెస్ కూడా పెరుగుతుంది. హౌ? బికాస్ వెనెవర్ యువర్ ప్రైస్ ఈజ్ ఇంక్రీజింగ్, ప్రైస్ ఈజ్ డిక్రీజింగ్, ఇండియన్ గూడ్స్ నౌ Indian goods now, they can also compete with foreign goods. That is called, it improves export competitiveness. Next one is what? Boost FDI in India. Because if any company wants to set up a manufacturing plant in India, now they no need to worry, because if they go to Tamil Nadu, if they go to Andhra Pradesh, if they go to Telangana, or if they go to Uttar Pradesh, it doesn't matter. Wherever they go, the taxation procedures is same, the taxation law is same, the taxation returns is same, and the tax is also same. That is called your GST. So because of that, the manufacturers, they simply feel it is very viable and it is very easy to start their business in India. So with that reason also, many companies and many countries businesses, they'll come forward and they'll set up their respective industries in the country, where the taxation to the government will increase, at the same time the GDP will increase, at the same time the employment opportunities to the country people will also increase. Third one is increase in the value of Indian rupee. Simple. When the exports is going on, or when the exports is increasing, what will happen? Your rupee will be appreciated. That is nothing but what? Increase in the value of Indian rupee. And not only that, rate of 18% for manufacturing and traders could reduce product cost. Earlier case, actually, because of more cascading effects, the taxation on manufacturing, it was so high, because the central government used to put excise duty, whereas the state government is used to put VAT. So two types of taxes on a single item. But now, because we have brought this particular concept of GST, which reduces or which simply destroys this cascading effect of taxation, because of that we are merely applying 18% on the manufacturing. Because of this, meeku emoutundi, production cost అనేటటువంటిది తగ్గుతుంది. So which is good for both consumers and as well as the businessmen. Not only that, rate of 18% equals 15% goods credit rate. And now we are showing GST as 18%, which is actually equal to 15% of credit rate because of the cascading effects anamata. So kabatti ippudu 15% normal ga meer esetatvanti tax etla undo and before GST, in the GST it is equal to 18% because of the cascading effects and because of the rigid transaction, because of the rigid procedures and all. So adi kuda okati gurtu pettukovali. And also it increases the GDP by 1.5% to 2%, which never happened actually. Idi jaragala ఇది కాస్త కూస్త జరిగింది, ఇది జరగల. సో ఇది ఇంకా వీల్ హ్యావ్ టు వెయిట్ అండ్ సీ. Because of the COVID situation also, this particular thing, it went back. So that is what again we have to understand. So this is what the impact of the GST on the Indian economy. So there is one more thing that is called GSTN, which is also stands for Goods and Services Tax Network. So all of you know that the moment new technologies came into existence, the way that we are doing business and the way that we are doing each and every work in our daily mundane activities is changing. Even today, if you are a person earning crores of rupees, by just sitting in your office room with a computer, you can file the income tax and corporate tax returns to the government directly from a simple laptop or a mobile phone. So ante enti, everything is related with internet and technology today. So when it comes to the GST also, before the introduction of GST, government thought of this thing, that we have to build up a network that is called Goods and Taxation Network, where it will look after the overall governance of the GST online. So it is nothing but what? It is an online setup of the total procedures of GST. And you know that this is a technical job, right? For example, the moment you are rolling out the GST, somebody has to, the government has to maintain the website of GST, and the government has to open the portals where the GST returns will be filed by the companies, and if there is any dispute, some customer care capabilities, and all these things have to be built up, isn't it so? So in that particular case, this particular Goods and Services Network, Goods and Services Tax Network, what it means? It is nothing but IT infrastructure for GST. It is nothing but IT infrastructure for GST. And this GSTN, first of all, it was set up as a non-government institution set up by the government of India, and where the stakes are actually, government of India was having 24%, 24.5% stake, and all the states of India, they were holding 24.5% stake, and rest of the 50% it was held by some of the non-government finance institutes. But ఇది కూడా మార్చేసి తర్వాత 50-50 రేషియోకి స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్స్ అండ్ సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్స్ తీసుకొచ్చారు. అది వేరే విషయం, దట్ ఈస్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్. అండ్ దట్ ఈస్ GSTN, Goods and Tax Network. In the current affairs part, you will understand this. So I will talk about that also. First, let us understand this Goods and Services Tax Network. First of all, what does that mean? It is nothing but it is the IT infrastructure for goods and services tax. Okay, so earlier, so actually there is a mistake also. This is 51%, ఎందుకంటే 24.5 ఎంత అవుతుంది మీకు? 49 అవుతుంది. Rest of the 51% equity is with the non-government financial institutions. So what is the functions, or what are the functions of or responsibilities of GSTN ante? First, it will facilitate the registration process and how the registration has to be done, and also computations of IGST and any other settlements and payments, return filings, and also input tax credit profiles, and also it analyze the taxpayers profile, integrated banking network with tax payment details, file returns to the central and state authorities, managing computation of input tax credit, and also submitting the reports to the government. Okay, so ante enti, the overall work of this GSTN is registration for GST. For example, if you are running a company, you have to register under GST, and then payment of GSTs, and then also return filing. Getting the point? So registration means what? Any new business or entity, whenever it is coming under the tax liability of the government, then it has to be registered under the government of India, that is your GST. Payment means your normal payment. Return filing means what? How much taxes you are paying, how much in return you are getting from the government. So ante like your income tax itself. Are you understanding the point? So that is what it is all about, the GSTN responsibility. What is it? Registration, payment, and return filing. This is what we do under the Goods and Services Network. So when it comes to the criticism of GST, of course nothing is out of criticism. GST is not an exception. So it is not the first time that India is the only country which has brought this GST into reality, I mean, or GST into implementation. There were many governments, especially like UK, France, Russia, China, even South Africa, Canada, Japan, Malaysia, etc. So if you compare all these countries, the average GST rates of all the countries, of course, I told you we have a range of 5 types of GST rates: 0%, 3%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. In this, most of the goods invite 18% of the GST. And the average the average GST rates in India when it comes to the most number of the goods, that is 18%. But if you compare with other countries, most countries they have a lower tax when relatively compared to India. Apart from that, most countries have a single or dual tax rate under the GST, which is lower than India. But India lo manam chudandi enni 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 almost 6 range. Even in GST lo manam up to 40% tax వేయచ్చు అని చెప్పాం. We are saying GST as one tax, but in that tax we are bringing different rates. So that is one criticism. In majority of the countries the tax is either 1 or 2, ఒకటి లేదా రెండు రేట్లు ఉంటాయి. కానీ ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తున్నాం, we are bringing different rates. So some people have questioned this particular concept of GST. If you are putting this much of rates on GST, what is the point in removing the rest of the taxes? ఇంతకు ముందు కూడా అలాగే ఉండేది కదా, ఎక్సైజ్ డ్యూటీ ఒక 20%, సేల్స్ ట్యాక్స్ ఏమో 5%, ఇలా ఒక 5 taxes ఉండే. Now you have removed those names only, but the rates remained so, right? So some people say this is nothing but ridiculous, because last time the same number of taxes were there, but now GST there is only one tax, but there are different rates, so which leads to confusion. That is what some people say. But okay, we have settled that part. And apart from that, when relatively compared with other countries except UK and France, which are somewhat bigger than India in terms of their wealthiness, so they have a lower tax than India. But when it comes to India, we are putting 18%, where most of the poor people they live in India. Most of the people in India, they belongs to the middle class. So when more and more poor people and middle class people are there, if you are putting these many taxes, how they are going to survive? That another raises a big question. So if you see rest of the countries, it is a very downtrend way of taxes. If you see Canada, another developed country, it is only asking for 5% of tax, but here India is putting 18% of tax. So that is what another criticism. And another, apart from that tax rates criticism, these are all the other criticisms regarding of GST. One is higher burden of the taxes. First one, higher burden of taxes for manufacturing SMEs. And intaku mundu these MSMEs, they used to be left out of the taxes, and more and more discounts they used to get when it comes to the taxation. But now MSMEs also brought under GST. Now compulsory they have to pay the taxes, so it gives more burden on them. Increase in operating costs, because every shop and every mall, every business, now they have to change their softwares kada, because whenever you put the bill, for example, when you go to any shopping mall, what they do, they'll scan your barcodes, right? And for example, if you go to any more Spencer's or Heritage, you bring all your goods in one cart. అప్పుడు వాడు ఏం చేస్తాడు, ఒక్కొక్కటి తీసుకొని దాని మీద స్కాన్ చేస్తాడు బార్కోడ్ని, బిల్ వస్తుంది. That bill has to be printed. అది ప్రింట్ అవ్వాలంటే there has to be some software in the system, isn't it so? So without that software you cannot really work. So now all these companies who are supposed to pay the GST, they have to change their softwares, so it increases their operating costs and also change in business softwares. Because of that they have to put some more investment there kada, దానికి ఎంతో కొంత డబ్బులు ఇవ్వాలి కదా కంపెనీస్కి. అది అలాగే we started implementing the GST in July, so it is a mid-year. So again it brought so many complications. Like before that time, అంటే జూలై ముందు వరకునేమో ఓల్డ్ ట్యాక్సెస్ కట్టాలి, జూలై నుంచి మళ్ళీ GST కట్టాలి. So the rolling out, the time was not great according to some people. And also increase in taxes which lead to increase in prices, especially for some things like restaurants kani, shopping malls kani, or dish TVs kani, the taxes have actually increased. దట్స్ వై ఇఫ్ యూ గో టు ఏ రెస్టారెంట్ బిల్లు కన్నా ఈ టిప్ ట్యాక్స్ ఎక్కువ అవుతుంది. చూడండి, జనరల్గా పులి కన్నా తోక పెద్దదని ఒక సామెత ఉంది మనకి తెలుగులో. సో అట్లానే ట్యాక్స్ కన్నా మన రెస్టారెంట్లో కట్టే బిల్లు కన్నా కూడా ట్యాక్స్ ఎక్కువ అయ్యేది. అంటే 100 rupees ఇఫ్ యూ ఎయిట్ వన్ బిర్యానీ, యూ ఆర్ సపోజ్ టు పే 18 rupees యాజ్ ట్యాక్స్. దట్ ఈస్ రిడిక్యులస్ కదా. So but now they have reduced this to 5%, that's a different point. But in the earlier cases I was talking about. Alage petroleum prices, they were not part of it. So many people question this also, why it is not part of it, why you are again putting a different tax for petroleum. So that is one thing. And also registration, there is a need for registration in different states. For example, let's say that I have one company, Bharat company, right? I have to get registered in Telangana, and again I have to get registered if I am working in Mumbai. If I have a branch office in Mumbai, again I have to get registered in Maharashtra. Or if I am working in Gujarat, again I have to register in Gujarat. Or Tamil Nadu, again I have to get registered in Tamil Nadu. More registrations for only one tax. That is another point. And also e-commerce website like Flipkart, Amazon, these people, no clarity, because some people said GST is applicable. And also how much GST is applicable on e-commerce websites, మళ్ళీ అదొక ప్రాబ్లం వచ్చింది. దాని మీద పెద్దగా క్లారిటీ ఇవ్వలేదు ఇన్ ద ఇనీషియల్ డేస్. అండ్ ఆఫ్టర్ దాట్ కంపోజిషన్ స్కీమ్ అని ఒకటి ఉంది. కంపోజిషన్ స్కీమ్ అంటే ఫర్ దోస్ కంపెనీస్ విచ్ ఆర్ వెరీ 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 స్మాల్, దిస్ జిఎస్టీ no need to be filed in exact procedure. And for example, let's say I have a very small company. Now I no need to file the GST returns the way the big company is filing. I can pay the GST on the basis of my last year profits, on bookish profits. That's it. That is called composition scheme, and it is some exemption given to some small companies. But this composition scheme exemption was given to only small companies but not big companies. So many people, they question this also. So why the composition scheme was not available with other companies, why they have only given for small companies? So that is one thing. Because of GST, the prices in the initial days have increased. The government never took any measures to reduce that inflation. So this is another drawback. So likewise, there were many problems faced as part of your GST. Especially in this, UPSC may ask you question on this. So these are normal things, they may not ask you, but here UPSC may concentrate, and when comes to the petroleum also it may concentrate. So వీటి మీద మళ్ళా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగేటటువంటి అవకాశం ఉంది. సో వీ హ్యావ్ టు బి what you call you have to be on your toes when comes to the questions on like this. So this is your end of your GST. అయితే దీని మీద నేను కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ ప్రిపేర్ చేశానండి. ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ the time and if you have that glitch to write the answers, better write the answers and send it to me. Features and significance of GST, impact of the GST, whether it is inflationary or deflationary, critically examine. So at a critically examine ante meer ikkada em rayali, if you are writing 10 points, 6 points you have to write negative, 4 points you have to write positive. గుర్తు పెట్టుకోండి, ఈ వీటిని మనం ఏమంటాం అంటే కీవర్డ్స్ అంటాం. ఈ కీవర్డ్స్ బేసిస్ మీద మీరు ఆన్సర్లు రాయాల్సి ఉంటుంది. క్రిటికల్లీ ఎగ్జామిన్, కమెంట్, క్రిటికల్లీ కమెంట్, ఎలూసిడేట్, ఎనలైజ్, డిస్క్రైబ్, గివ్ ఎన్ అకౌంట్, ఇలా ప్రతిదానికి ఒక్కొక్క మీనింగ్ ఉంటుంది. వెన్ ఎవర్ ఐ గెట్ టైమ్ ఆర్ వెన్ ఎవర్ వీ హ్యావ్ మోర్ టైమ్, I can concentrate on them also. Let us see in after classes. But అవి నేర్చుకోండి, కాస్త ఇంటర్నెట్లో చదువుకోండి మీరు కూడా. అలాగే what is the impact of GST on local self governing bodies? That's another important question. ఎందుకంటే we have talked more about the central government and we have talked more about the state government, but we have talked very less about your local self government when it comes to the GST. So what is its impact? So అది కూడా కాస్త చదవాలి. అలాగే what is the GST's impact on state revenues? Okay, at least learn about all the states comprehensively, right? అలాగే in the context of cooperative federalism, discuss whether the GST is intruded into the authorities of India states taxation powers which has been permitted under the constitution. I told you this also. They have given up their taxation powers and they have brought all the powers under GST council అని, GST council is a constitutional body అని చాలా చెప్పాను నేను. అందులోంచి అనలైజ్ చేసి రాసుకోవాలి మీరు. అంటే ఒక రకంగా చెప్పాలంటే ఆ రాష్ట్రాల అధికారాలను లాక్కుంది సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్, బట్ విత్ దేర్ అప్రూవల్. సో బట్ సమ్ స్టేట్స్ దే డిడెంట్ లైక్ ఇట్, బట్ ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ they are implementing, that's a different point. So they may ask you question on this. And what are the concerns regarding the structure and features of GST? So again we have to understand this. And objectives of GST's anti profiteering clause, this they may not ask you, ఎందుకంటే 2017లో ఇది రెలవెంట్, ఇప్పుడు 2020 వచ్చింది కాబట్టి అంత రెలవెన్స్ లేకపోవచ్చు. How GST will improve the India's ease of doing business, this they may ask in 2020, let us wait. And challenges in the successful implementation of GST, definitely, which is very very important point when it comes to GST. So I think I have given you around 9 questions. At least try to write the answers for half, at least 5 questions. Choose any of these questions and write the answers. Whenever you get time, you send them to me. I will give my comments on your answers. ఎందుకంటే గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, many people they think this, first we will study all the syllabus, then we will do the writing practice for prelims and also for mains. This is a very 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 wrong strategy. Remember this, the moment you study parallelly you have to practice. That is the reason why we are putting exams on every Monday, on every Tuesday, but none of you are writing. That's why we have discontinued in these 2 weeks. I was not interested because very few people have written it. నాకు తెలిసి ఒక 4 people, నలుగురు ఎంతమందో రాశారు. సో కుమార్ ఒక ఆయన రెగ్యులర్గా రాస్తున్నారు, రమేష్ ఒక ఆయన రెగ్యులర్గా రాస్తున్నారు, ఇంకొకరు ఎవరో మల్లిక అనే ఒకరు ఉన్నారు, వాళ్ళు కూడా రెగ్యులర్గా రాస్తున్నారు. సో ఇలాగ ఒక 4-5 ఉన్నారు, వాళ్ళు చాలా రెగ్యులర్గా రాస్తున్నారు. So rest of the people, 4-5 members, they have written very regularly. Rest of the people, they are not showing interest. So when you don't get that interest of writing the answers, that to online exam you don't need to bubble anything, you just have to click your button in your mobile, isn't it so? So I recommend you to please write these examinations as soon as possible and as much as possible, because they will help you in your prelims examination. So that's it about your GST. In the tomorrow's class, let us start the class with fiscal policy, and after the fiscal policy definition itself, I will start the class about budget. So what is there in the budget? So this is your next class. Okay, so let us continue the class from tomorrow. So that's it. As I told you, this is the end of your GST. If you have any questions regarding of GST or any other problems when it comes to the economy, you are free to message me. You can ask your questions and you can put your comments. And as I told you, please write the answers to those questions which I have just showed to you, and please send it to me where I will correct them and give the comments so that you can improve your writing skills. So that's it. This is the end of today's class. Thank you.